Today, I'm going to be reviewing the AvalonKing Armor Shield IX, which has come in what must be the most beautiful box I've ever received a detailing product in. This just looks like an iPhone that I'm about to unbox. Now, the AvalonKing guys were kind enough to send me the sample to test out. The product is supposed to provide all kind of the good ceramic coating qualities, 2 years of protection in a DIY package. I'm very excited to test this out, and I kind of just at least want to pop this open and show you guys the bottle. That is the most beautiful presentation I've ever seen. Just the nice, like, chromed out bottle in this pretty box. It is literally like taking an iPhone and opening it up. And there's a bunch of accessories in here, which I'll show you in a second. For now, let's talk about what we're gonna test today. We're gonna be looking at durability, visual appeal, slickness, ease of application, gloss meter testing, and UVA meter testing. And once we're done with the testing, I'll give you guys my opinion as far as the quality of the product and whether or not I'd use it. Let's get started. To kick off the testing of the AvalonKing Armor Shield Nano Ceramic Coating, we're gonna begin by applying it to this portion of my test hood. We're gonna leave a portion blank in the back. That's gonna be our control, and this test will begin with a -10 to +10 score for ease of application. Let's open up this beautiful box and see what we have inside. We've got the cards and a nice little thank you, as well as a card to help us install the cloth into the applicator. We've got our beautiful Armor Shield bottle. This is a really pretty bottle. And here's our applicator, and that's where that card will kind of help us. We've got a buffing cloth that was included, as well as some gloves, it looks like, and a applicator cloth. In the bottom of the box, we've got some instructions. Reading the application, this product is quite similar to others that I've tested in the past. We essentially apply the product to the applicator. We spread it around in a crosshatch pattern. We give it a range of time to cure depending on the temperature, but really you're looking for that oil slick, the rainbow color look when you need to buff off. Now, it is suggested that the product cure for as long as 7 days. We normally cure for 24 hours, but we will go longer on this product. The product also talks about layering, and it says it's not required, but you can layer it up to 3 times. In our testing, we only do 1 application unless the product requires multiple applications. And in this case, we're just gonna do 1 layer. To mention health and safety, it does suggest working in a well-ventilated area and wearing a mask and gloves. Personally, I love using this Model SR200 mask. It's definitely overkill for what we're doing. This is more for painting, but it will work for this. It's got a charcoal filter as well as a P100 filter stacked together, so you shouldn't be able to smell any solvent in the product at all. To begin, we're gonna take our applicator and the card. We're gonna get our cloth. Let's see, they actually gave us, I think, multiple cloths, which is very nice. Yeah, 3 in here. So we drape that over our squishy side. We take our card, and we start working that in with the card. There we go, we've got our applicator on. I'm gonna throw the mask on and I'll start applying. I look like some kind of weird spaceman now. We're starting to get the oil slicks. With the product applied, let's talk about the scoring of ease of application and what I thought. There are 5 possible scores that a product can receive in this test. It will range from a -10, a -5, a 0, a +5, or a +10. It's just the level of granularity I'm comfortable with for this test, being that it's so subjective to my opinion. And a 10 in this case would be a perfect application of a ceramic coating where it's just as good as it gets with any sort of coating product. If we were using a paste wax, it would be based against other paste waxes and those qualities. Now for the Armor Shield from AvalonKing, I was initially gonna ding it a little because of that long cure period. Other products don't necessarily require it. However, when I started to use it, it was such a dream to apply. The product spread really well when we were cross-hatching, and then the product flashed pretty quickly. It flashed very kind of consistently across the surface. There weren't too many hot spots. And finally, what tipped me over the edge was that the product was so easy to remove. I was able to wipe it away like I would a spray wax. As soon as it flashed cleanly and I could kind of see that it was ready, it just disappeared off the surface. So I am gonna give this a 10. I really think that's a very easy to use product. I've removed the painter's tape and now we're gonna use the same kind of scale that we used for ease of application. So a range of -10 to +10 to determine how good the AvalonKing product looks. The first thing I like to do is find our tape line, and I can see it here, where on the right side is our untreated surface and on the left is the AvalonKing, and the AvalonKing looks pretty good. It really did richen and deepen up the surface. I think the big question here is this a 5 or a 10? And I think it's really gonna come down to a judgment call. Like, it's still pretty deep. It's not the prettiest thing I've ever seen, but it's definitely got something going for it. It is a nice and pleasant look, especially like you could see all that sheen and reflection here. Very nice optical quality. Man, it's a tough call. I think for this, I'm gonna make a decision and give it a 10. It is just, I think, just there for where I think it'd be unfair for me to give it a 5. Hopefully you guys can see the line. Sometimes YouTube's 8-bit color limitation really makes it hard for me to show it to you. But like right now, it's like right there. Like that's the line right there. Hopefully you see it. This is my gloss testing station, and here we're gonna use this gloss meter to determine how much gloss has been lost or gained from the application of the Armor Shield IX from AvalonKing. I made this application some time ago, so it's ready to test. Now this panel is normally 94 gloss units, and that is representative of a very highly polished car paint job. We can see car paint get, as much as 100 gloss units when testing at 20 degrees with one of these gloss meters. So 94 is right up there with some of the highest finished gloss shines. And most products will struggle to raise that gloss. In fact, often we see it fall. So let's find out by taking 5 readings how the Armor Shield IX has performed. We're gonna start by turning the gloss meter on, and let's get it calibrated. It should read 104. There we go, let's wait a second. Now let's take our samples. We're seeing 93.7 up there, 93.7 in the other corner, 93.7 in the middle. Wow, very, very even. 94.2 over here, 0.3 even, and 93.6 in the final reading. So we've got a total of 469 points. We're gonna divide that by 5 to average. We got 93.8 gloss units, and in my scoring for this test, I will take points away if we've lost any gloss. So in this case, we're gonna lose 0.2 points for the Armor Shield IX. However, it's a fantastic score because really very few products can raise the gloss of something so shiny. In fact, I've seen some products lose as much as 10 gloss units. So losing 0.2 is not much at all. And just to kind of reiterate how this works, it is a score of reflected light. That's what this device is measuring. It's seeing how shiny the product has made the surface. It is not a score of visual appeal. It's not telling us how pretty it is or how visually glossy it is. Before we move on to the next test, I want to remind you guys that there are Amazon affiliate links down below in the description to the tools and products we're testing today. Furthermore, there's a link to my website which has a matrix of all the prior tests that we've done so you can compare how this product performed. And of course, I would love it if you left me a nice comment, if you subscribed, and remember to follow me on other social media like Instagram. Let's move on to do more testing. This is my UVA testing station where we're gonna determine if the Armor Shield IX from AvalonKing is able to provide UVA protection against harmful rays. There are 3 types of UV light: UVC, which is primarily man-made, it doesn't really get through our atmosphere; UVB, which is also mostly blocked by our atmosphere; and UVA, which is the longest wavelength that really punches through the atmosphere. Now, UVA ranges from 315 to 400 nanometers, and this device peaks out at 365. That's kind of where it generates the most light. We're going to turn the device on, and it's got to self-calibrate. We should see it zero out. So perfect. So we have 100% visible light coming through, 0% UV being reflected, and 0% infrared being reflected. So let's first try a blank microscopy slide. This has nothing on it. It should read around 8.4% blocking UVA. And that's what we see: 92.8% of visible light, 8.4% of UVA being blocked just by the glass. Glass does block some light. And here we have the same kind of slide that I've applied in automotive clear coat to. It's just a cheap one that I picked up on Amazon. It's probably not a very good clear coat. But if we stick it in there, we're seeing it's blocking 89.5% of UVA and allowing 91.9% of visible light through. It'll vary a little as you slide it around because the clear coat isn't perfectly even, but you get the idea. And here we have a slide that I've applied the Armor Shield IX to, so let's find out if it makes any difference. And it really doesn't. We're actually seeing 8.2. And these slides have a small variance. They're not always bang on 8.4. Sometimes it's a little more, a little less. But basically, we're not seeing anywhere near the kind of effect that we are from clear coat. So I would say that no, the Armor Shield IX does not block UVA. Now, I've been doing this test for all the products, so I'm not picking on AvalonKing here specifically, and in fact, they may not even advertise it as having UV protection. Couldn't find anything on the box, couldn't find anything on the bottle. Now, so far in my testing, I've never seen a product provide actual protection in the UVA range, and AvalonKing in this case is no different. The panel's had a chance to fully cure, and we can begin our durability and slickness testing of the AvalonKing Armor Shield IX. Now, the slickness testing is where we'll start, and this is basically a coefficient of slickness test where we're going to determine how much slicker the AvalonKing is versus the untreated and polished surface of the hood. Now, when the hood is polished, it'll get a 0.38 static coefficient of friction. Let's find out by taking 5 readings where the AvalonKing gets us. Now, by feeling the surface, it does seem like it's slicker than the bare paint, but it doesn't feel extremely slick. We're going to use this device to measure how many grams of force, and it's going to show it to us in kilograms, it takes to move this block. And all we need to do is just get it rolling. We're going to do our first pull, and we're going to get 0.18 kilograms, so that's 180 grams. Push the block back to kind of where we started and do another pull, and we get 180 again. Do a third pull, and 150 this time. Let's do the number 4 pull, and 150 again. And for the last final pull, 180. So we've got a total of 840 grams. We're gonna divide that by 5, and we're gonna get 168 grams on average is the force needed to get it to break free. Now, the block weighs 1,040 grams, so to figure out the coefficient of friction, we're gonna divide that, and we're gonna get 0.16 rounded down static coefficient of friction. Now, we know 0.38 is the bare polished paint minus 0.16. The delta is 0.22. Now, to get our score, to kind of get a 0 through 10 score, although you can actually, and we have seen it, get a negative score. We had a product that made the surface tackier than bare paint. We will multiply this by a score factor of 30, and we're gonna get 6.6 points. And guys, 6.6 is a solid score. It's not, breaking any records, but it's definitely a slicker surface than the bare paint. The product did all right. Now it's time to do the durability portion of the video. And it's freezing here in Texas right now while I'm filming this over the Christmas holiday, and I'm having to do it kind of partially in the garage. Now, for this test, what we're gonna do is wash this panel repeatedly until the product fails. And when I say fails, what I mean is when you look at the panel and you can tell there's no longer that nice hydrophobicity that you used to see when the product was applied. Now it's just big patches of slowly draining water, and the product is clearly not there anymore. And over here's the area where we've applied the Armor Shield IX, and below we have our control. So once the control and the Armor Shield start to look similar, we'll know things have failed. I'm gonna be using my usual Adams shampoo that's been diluted to the same ratio I've used throughout the videos. First, let's see just how hydrophobic our product is. The hydrophobicity from the Armor Shield 9 is clearly there. It is removing the water relatively quickly. It is not maybe as hydrophobic as I would have expected, but it is performing, and you can definitely tell where the control is. Now that the water's had a chance to drain, let's take a look and see how we're performing. Man, that's really strange. I'm not getting much beating out of this product. I'm not sure what's really going on with it. It seems like it is kind of dissipating the water quicker than the control, but it's just not really performing. I guess let's maybe give it a couple of more washes. Maybe that's just sort of the way it is. Maybe it doesn't really beat a lot. So 2 washes in, let's try to spray this and see how it looks. Ugh, I don't know, guys. It's almost like the product washed off or just isn't providing much performance. Let's just try one more wash. Maybe there's still something I'm missing, but it seems to have just been rapidly coming off. Like the first rinse, we saw some beating, and then it just seemed to disappear. Let's give it another spray. This is our 3rd wash. Maybe something's changed by now. I mean, I'm not even seeing a difference between the control now. I think it's all pretty much washed off. And just for example, guys, on the right side, just to give you a little insight into how I make stuff, I tend to do multiple products in a single shooting. And on this right side, I have 3 different combinations of Adams products. And they've had the same cure time and everything. And just as an example, I mean, you can see 3 distinct products there. And then when we look at the AvalonKing, like, I don't know what's going on. I think it's just all washed off. I still see these lines very clearly where these other products are. And this is tacky now. It's just as tacky as the bare paint. So I just wanted to show you guys what the panel looks like after the wash. I've dried it off. And you can tell there's really maybe just the faintest line left from where the Avalon 9 was. And again, it only got a handful of washes. Now the other side where I had other products, you know, the lines are pretty much gone too, but the difference is they lasted between 100 and 200 washes. If you're curious which products these were, just make sure to subscribe to the channel and you'll be able to see that video too. It's time to wrap up the AvalonKing Armor Shield 9 and talk about what I liked. So starting off, it is truly a DIY product. It is very easy to use. I definitely recommend using some diffused lights as well as maybe a flashlight if you're applying the product. It's just a pretty simple thing to apply, but you don't want to leave high spots. Another area of the product that worked well was the gloss retention. It only lost 1/10 of a gloss point, which is really great. When you have a highly polished car, you don't want a product to step that gloss down. The product also looked good. It wasn't mind-blowing, but it did look pretty good to me. And overall, I was very excited about the product, kind of when you combine all these factors, the ease of use, the gloss, visual appeal, it was all really good. And then we kind of got to some stuff that was less than great. The slickness was just okay. You know, it didn't score a poor score, but we definitely have way stronger, slicker products. And slickness can be very important as you're working on washing your car. You want everything to come off easily. You don't want things marring your paint because the paint is tacky. As with all the other products, the UV performance really just wasn't there. You know, that's been the case with everything I've tested. I did look through more of the information on this product on their website. They do advertise it as having UV protection. Now we have to get to that sort of $1,000,000 question. What happened to the durability? The product didn't just seem to do anything. It had a little bit of hydrophobicity starting out, and I think I want to maybe give it 1 or 2 points there. Maybe I'll give it 2 and be generous. But the product basically disappeared off the paint. Now, I gave it the cure time. I think I applied it correctly. I've applied a bunch of other ceramic coatings before. This didn't seem to have any unique instructions. It seemed to flash well. It had slickness. Obviously, the product was there when we started. It just didn't seem to do well. Now, I know some of you might say, oh, it's a sheeting product, not a beading product. But if you look closely, the product really wasn't sheeting either. Sheeting in most products cases tends to happen as the product wears off and loses some of the beading. You still get some sheeting action until it's just too slow to sheet. In this case, it was basically sheeting at the same rate. So if it's supposed to provide sheeting, it's not doing any better than the untreated paint. Now, it is entirely possible this is just a result of a bad product batch. And if that's the case, I would love to retest the product. I hope the guys at AvalonKing, if they find this to be the case, or maybe I did something wrong, please reach out. I would love to retest the product and eat my own words here. And in fact, there have been, I think, at least 2 instances where I did kind of retract what I said. One instance that definitely comes to mind were the trim cubes, and I'll link a video up here in your corner somewhere where the product just didn't work. And the gentleman from that company reached out. He told me there's been bad batches where some of the sponges just didn't have the right whatever was wrong with the product, the wrong amount or just a bad batch or whatever it was. But I tried it again and it worked really well. So this may indeed be the case. I'm not trying to hype anything up or dump on any specific product. So overall, my thought is I can't really recommend the product right now. It just doesn't really seem to offer the performance I would expect from a ceramic coating. The overall scoring does reflect some good positive things from the other tests, but just that durability really let it down. So I don't know what's going on with that. Remember to like, subscribe, leave me a nice comment, tell me your experience with AvalonKing, and I will catch you again really soon.